So, hi everybody, it is me again, and welcome to our webinar series in conjunction with Sustainability Month initiated by CGSS USM. And this month we have been exposed to various kinds of sustainability topics. As you may know, environmental quality strongly depend on the human behavior or patterns. Awareness comes first for any pro-environmental behavior. Particularly in this week, on Wednesday, we talk about environmental protection and me. Yesterday about green office and sustainable development goal. And today, once again, let me draw your attention into environmental protection, particularly on the issue of plastic. So today we got with us two very passionate environmentalists. One of them, Dr. Ying Chiket from the Institute Pengobatan Pergigian Temaju. He is a senior lecturer on oncology and radiological science cluster USM, working on charged particle therapy, simulation on radiation transport and radiotherapy. He is a member of Malaysian Association of Medical Physics and Institute of Physics Malaysia. He is also volunteer of NGO Tsuti and has been actively involved in many volunteer activities, including community service and recycling activity. Another environmentalist, Associate Professor Dr. Tan Mei Lan, from the School of Pharmaceutical Sciences, from USM, she has been actively involved in life sciences research for the past 20 years. And due to her concern, in seeing the massive amount of single-use laboratory plastic and waste from the life sciences research, Associate Professor Tan Mei Lan is currently in a mission to raise awareness on global plastic waste crisis and how scientists can actually play a role in mitigating this crisis. So both of our distinguished speakers, Dr. Ying and Associate Professor Dr. Tan, has putting the effort in environmental protection by raising awareness. They have, in together with Dr. Ng, CGSS, developed a micro-credential course at the moment for free, okay, launched just last month, entitled Waste Reduction and Recycling in Campus. So if you're interested, please find their course in micro-credential at USM and at the moment for free. I need to emphasize at the moment for free. So let me welcome both of Associate Professor Dr. Tan and also Dr. Ying on board. Hi, how are you, Dr. Tan?
Fine, thank you.
Wait, I just add you spotlight so that everyone look, yeah, see.
All right.
Okay. So to start with, I think it is good to always have an overview how this plastic issue and has gone or impacted our environment. So perhaps I would like to invite Dr. Tan to share about her insights about how far plastic pollution and implication to our environment.
Yeah, sure. So let me just share my slides, yeah?
Sure.
Okay, can you see?
Yes.
So, right. Thank you so much, Dr. Chan, for the kind introduction, and a very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us in this session. I think this is really a great morning, where we can sit down here talking about something we love so much, something we cannot live without. And in case some of you will be thinking, am I talking about the Korean drama? No, I'm not, yeah. So actually, I'm not sure whether you heard about this company, named IPSOS. Now, this is basically a global market research company. And, they actually did a survey, they publicized it in 2019. They did the survey in 2019 as well. They surveyed about like 3,000 young Malaysians, wanting to understand how these young Malaysians perceive on this plastic issue and all the associated, sustainability issues with plastic. Yeah. Then of 3,000 respondents, 56% of them felt that, they are very concerned about this issue and they want efforts made to address this issue. But this is something very positive. And interestingly, 70% of these young Malaysians felt that it was the government's responsibility to find effective ways to to reduce the plastic usage. So the question is, Does it mean that we, because we are not part of the government, yeah, we can just sit down and do nothing about it? So this is something for you to ponder over this morning. Okay, let me just wait. Okay. Now, plastic pollution is found all over the world. It can be found, in the busiest tourist beaches up to the most remote uninhabited tropical islands. Now, in the 1950s, right, with a total population of 2.5 billion people, they were already producing like 1.5 million tons of plastic. And fast forward to 2016, with a population of 7 billion, they were producing like more than 320 million tons of plastic. Now, this is like, 3 times increase in population, but like more than 20 over times increase in plastic production. And the amount is set to double by 2034, yeah? And every day, 8 million pieces of plastic pollution will end up in the ocean. And there are about like 51 trillion macro and microplastics pieces floating in the open ocean today. Yeah, this is great, right? And plastic consistently make up to 60 to 90% of all the marine debris studied. Yeah, and by 2050, 99 of those seabirds would have ingested at least a piece of plastic. Yeah, and combining both seawater and freshwater ecosystem, microplastics have been found in a total of 114 aquatic species. Now, microplastics and macroplastics are surely and found to be working all their way up to the marine food chain, from the smallest zooplankton to small fishes up to the largest marine predators. And we know it's not a secret, yeah? Microplastics and plastic ingestion can lead to toxicity and even death. All right. Now, according to the figures cited by the United Nations, there will be more plastic than fish, yeah, by 2050, unless people stop using single-use plastics. That is like, plastic bags, your plastic bottles, your mineral bottles and all that. So the problem with plastic waste is that they not only pollute land and ocean, they also produce microplastics, and microplastics leach out toxins like, the phthalates, the bisphenols, the diphenyl esters, and so on. All right. Now, microplastics are basically small little plastics measuring less than 5 mm in size, and nanoplastics measure in nano size. Right. Now, their microplastics are basically divided into 2 types: primary and secondary. Now, primary microplastics are basically found in, microbeads used in personal care products, plastic pellets or noodles found used in industrial manufacturing, as well as the microfibers used in synthetic textile manufacturing. And secondary microplastics are basically the plastics, result from breakdown of larger plastics. Yeah, when these larger plastics kind of undergo weathering, yeah, as a result of wind, water, as well as UV radiation from the sun, right? Now, microplastics and plastic particles have been found lodged of the circuit inside the digestive tract and tissues of various sea animals, including even the crustaceans such as like crabs, right? And fish and birds are most likely to, pick up and to ingest all these particles floating on the surface of the ocean, because, these plastic bits can be mistaken as food, right? And the ingestion of these microplastics and all that can result in neurological as well as reproductive toxicity. Now, with an estimated 9.7 people waiting to be fed by 2050, the threat of our fish stocks contaminated with microplastics and its associated toxins is very clear. No second doubt about it. Now, I would like to bring to your attention a study carried out, published in Science Advances in 2019. Now, this research team, led by the University of Rhode Island Graduate School of Oceanography, they made a grueling 18-day icebreaker expedition up to the Arctic Pole, right, aboard the Swedish icebreaker Oden, and they made a shocking discovery regarding plastics and the Arctic Ocean. Now, this project was actually part of the Northwest Passage project, and it was actually funded by the US National Science Foundation. And guess what? I'd like to emphasize here is that, to reach the sampling site, they basically have to travel by helicopter and another 18 days aboard the icebreaker. So you can imagine how far is it It's basically so much away and remote, and it's away from civilization. So when they reached the sampling site, what they did was they drilled several holes, and the holes, was like 2 meter deep. That's very deep, and then they get some samples from different locations. Yeah. And what they were in their mind at the time was they want to take these ice samples so that they can bring this ice sample to their lab, and look under the microscope. But to their horror, they don't even have to use a microscope. With their naked eye, they can actually see microplastic filaments, microfibers embedded into these ice cores. Yeah. So that's really shocking. And they all come in different shapes and sizes. Now, this may look like your ang tau peng or ice kacang, but unfortunately, this is not. This is a sample of this ice, Arctic ocean ice riddled with microplastics extracted by this group of scientists deep inside the ice block. All right. Now, this is about the Arctic ice. There's also another study published last year, which was in Marine Pollution Bulletin. The researchers actually found 14 types of polymers, different sizes and shapes embedded in this sample ice from the Antarctic sea ocean. Yeah. So, and they found that the particles are relatively quite large, suggesting that the pollution could be actually local, right? Now, to add salt to the wound, these microplastics or plastic particles have also been found inside the fish obtained from the deepest recesses of the ocean. Have you heard about this Mariana Trench? So basically, you can find trash on the seabed. If this is not bad enough, microplastics have also been found blanketing, the pristine snows, at the Pyrenees Mountains between France and Spain. When I mentioned about the Pyrenees Mountain, you may think it's very romantic, yeah, but it's actually full of microplastics. So microplastics is actually floating in the air. Yeah? Now, not to scare you further, but it's very alarming. Microplastics would have actually entered into our food chain already, yeah. And a very recent study published that they found particles, microplastic fibers, and all that in our packaged sea salt. The salt that we eat. Yeah, they also found microplastic contaminants in bottled water, even in beer, as well as in tap water. So it basically virtually certain that we are actually ingesting microplastics, right? And this also indicate that after years and years of mismanagement of this plastic waste, it's all coming back to us, right? And to make matters worse, there's 2 separate studies published last year, one in Nature Sustainability and one in Environmental Research. Scientists have found that microplastics are actually in our vegetables as well as in apples. And the most highest contaminant was actually carrots and apples. So does that mean, that how does this microplastics end up in vegetables and all that? So it basically means that, those plants, in addition to the nutrients they are taking up, they are also absorbing, they are sucking up microplastics that are available and nanoplastics, which are in the soil, right? Okay, let's see. All right. So do you still think that we can afford to keep quiet and to ignore this problem? So I really hope that you're starting to get worried already. Yeah. So back to you, Dr. Chan.
Yeah, indeed. I think I start to get a lot of worried and don't know how much actually it was my contribution to the pollution. So in looking at the protection, so maybe I will direct the question to Dr. Ying. How to protect our environment in your daily life?
Yes. Good morning. Thank you your questions. So I very happy today. I see a lot of students here and a lot of people are really concerned about our environment. So I think many of you also know that the important to protect our environment. But the problem is, do we do it or do we practice in our daily life? Can I just let me share my screen first?
Please.
Okay. So you all can see the screen, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. actually the concept of like to when you talk about the recycle, right, is always the last options. When you do recycle already, we recycle our plastic, paper, or whatever, right, is always the last options. Before that, actually, the first concept, right, we need to rethink, and then you try to reduce and reuse, repair, and recycle always the last option. I think the concept a lot of you already know, right? But do we really practice this in our daily life? So you can see actually because we are in the USM campus, right? And we are going to implement the practice of recycle in the campus later on. So today I would like to share it's more relevant to we are going to collect the recyclable item in USM later. So I will share the concept which type of the thing we are going to correct. So actually all of thing here we can correct it right now, but the grass bottle here actually is no more company, as I know in northern region or in Penang, they are not going to correct the grass already, right? So we cannot correct it right now. So the rest, like today's topic is about the plastic, right? So we can correct the plastic, but clothing we are not going to correct in USM. So we are going to correct the paper, aluminiums. But remember, always keep in mind, the recycle away is the last options. We need to rethink, especially when you're going to the cafeteria, like you want to purchase your lunch, your needle maybe, would you willing to use your own box, or you will use the plastic provided by the hawker? So this is the concept. Yes, Dr. Chan.
So, but whenever I mean, luckily I bring my own container. So, I mean, when we talk about all these recycled item and you know, we each and every consumer is trying their best, but sometimes it is the ignorant that we don't know which one can be recycled, which one cannot be recycled. So maybe what sort of plastic can be recycled and which type of material actually can or cannot be accepted by the recycle center. Sometimes we just send everything in one, you know, black plastic bag, but we don't know whether they are going into the right direction.
Yes, yeah, you're right, Dr. Chan. Actually, maybe some of you may confuse, okay, because we have too many types of plastic. But if you talk about the aluminium, right, there are only one type, it's metal aluminium. So we know that, oh, this is aluminium tins, we just dump into the recyclable bin so we can know. But there are many types of the plastic. But actually, some of the plastic, like, actually it cannot recyclable, because like me also doing the recycling activity for many years already. When we go to the recycling center to segregate the recyclable items, we always see actually a lot of things, right? When the public take it to the recycling center, actually a lot of things cannot recycle. So in USM, you want to do it more properly. So you're going to educate the student first to which type of plastic can recycle or which type of plastic cannot recycle. So generally, you can see this is the different type of the plastic here, right? Usually, most of the plastic can recycle, but the number 3, PVC, cannot recycle. Okay, PVC is something like your piping plastic in your house piping, and then the plastic cannot stress, and then the polyforms. Okay, as you can see here, like the PP is the polypropylene is very common type of plastic. This one can recycle. PETE actually is the mineral box. Most of the PETE, okay, polyethylene is a mineral box. All of this can recycle. Okay, now we look at the plastic in here. Okay, all plastic container, especially the green one, we just can recycle it. Okay, we are going to prepare one box for plastic only. Okay, means that later on you will see the recycling bin in the campus. Okay, we are going to put 3 type or 4 type only. Okay, you are not separate it too detailed. So you just throw it off the plastic, right? Can recycle, just put in the plastic bin. But remember, some type of plastic, right, is non-stretchable. Okay, when you stretch it, right, when you press it, you will hear the sound like crack, crack, crack. It's very hard, and then this type of plastic cannot stretch. So this plastic cannot recycle. Okay, the example is the plastic put the egg container. Okay, when you go to the shopping market, you purchase egg, right? And then the plastic hold egg, right? Egg container. Most of the type of this plastic cannot recycle. Okay, of course, if the plastic already dirty, also you cannot accept, and also the PVC plastic. So you make it simple lah. Most of the time, especially in the campus, student or staff, okay, have a lot of the mineral water. Please must bear in mind all the plastic need to be cleaned before put into the recycle bin. So the thing is like the mixed paper, cardboard. So you put the very clear notice lah in our recycling corner later. So to tell you which type of thing can recycle, which type of thing cannot recycle. Okay. Yes, I think this is my answer.
Yeah. So, but says. So I need to draw the attention from the audience. Maybe some of them are not aware. The campus is coming into a recycling, project that we will going to have recycle bins that hopefully everyone, okay, with your very single action to help in segregation upon you just put in the recycle bin. So maybe I just drag again the attention, something like this Maggie mee plastic. After I open a Maggie mee and then I eat, those kind of plastic is considered recyclable?
Non-stretchable, cannot recycle. Okay, when you talk about the Maggie mee bag, right? I remember there are a lot of plastic bag also. It's quite a common types. Actually, the plastic bag, right, can recycle, but some of the vendor or recycling center, they are not accept. So you need to make sure when you bring the plastic bag, right, okay, to the recycling center lah, whatever you are, okay, we need to make sure that they are really recycle it. Okay, sometimes they won't tell you, okay, this one we not accept. They will accept it, they still accept it, but at the end, right, they will dump into the landfill. So we need to make sure, we need to ask the recycling center, right? Like, let's say in Tzu Chi, we have a lot of recycling center, right? Usually in Penang, right, in Tzu Chi, we will accept the plastic bag also, but the plastic bag is stretchable. Some of the plastic bag is the biodegradable. So last time I remember Tesco, right, they're using the biodegradable plastic bag. This is the good move also. Okay.
So, I asked so because I think from the perspective of student, many of them eat Maggie mee, but it's not encouraging. Anyway, so but now we are in campus, so we have a lot of research lab around. Okay, so then it comes to a time that like Dr. Tan, she has witnessed, the massive generation of what you call this laboratory plastic, and this is where I think I would like to really learn about this in recycling and reducing the use of laboratory plastic, or if it's even possible, because we always scared of contamination if recycled, or if we are just putting in the right direction to the right vendor, or and any possibility that we can actually have a single move to help in this activity, Dr. Tan.
Maybe I should share my screen.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, back to me. Okay, now this is some of my, before I go further, I'd like to talk about some of my personal experience with how I came out with this recycling of single-use laboratory plastic waste. Now, when I first read the report on this plastics as well as the microplastics embedded in ice cores, that was in 2019. Frankly, I was kind of triggered already. I was like became like a bit sensitive when people talk about the word plastic. Well, I don't have a problem at home. I avid recycler. I make sure I recycle and manage the plastic waste at home. So then I began to actually think at all the plastic consumables that my students is buying. Being my students are actually very lucky, because they have this supervisor who's like loaded, So they buy a lot of those laboratory consumables, the single-use laboratory plastic waste, plastics consumables. So they can be in all kinds of shapes and sizes and all that. So, and they, mind you, they don't buy just one box or two boxes. They buy a lot, like, half a dozen or 1 dozen. And when it come, right, it come in really big box. And I can imagine, the amount of plastic waste that these guys are churning out. So it actually got me thinking, okay, now, is it worth it, with so much money spending on all this laboratory plastics and, and then students churning out so much waste, and just for the sake of publication, 1 or 2 publication in that, that sort of international journal, whether it's worth it. And of course, this is, just a personal experience. But again, people working in my field, life sciences, actually uses and produce a lot of single-use laboratory plastics. And again, it comes in different sizes and shapes, So these laboratory plastics are not the usual plastics that one would see at home. These are specialized plastics that only scientists or laboratory people working in laboratories know about them. So you cannot have people like Suchi people or Greenpeace people coming to you and say, hey, Dr. Tan, you need to do this, you need to recycle this can be recycled and all that. No, because they wouldn't know what we are actually throwing in the yellow biohazard bag. They wouldn't even know what you are doing in the lab, right? So only scientists know about them. All right, and then the awareness should only come from scientists, not other people. Yeah. Now you may ask, so how much plastic waste are we producing? I mean, the scientists, yeah. So let me just quote one report. This was in 2015. A group of the scientists from the Exeter University was trying to do some calculation. Yeah. So they estimated that their bioscience department, that was in like 2015, can actually generate up to 280 tons of plastics per year. That is plastic waste per year. And this was actually reported in Nature. Now, can you imagine the number of research institutions in this world? People even calculated it's about like 20,500 research institutions involving either in biological, medical, or agricultural research. And, where the plastic disposal is likely to be the heaviest. They calculated that these research institutions can generate up to 5.5 million tons of plastic waste every year. And this weight, this is amount to like, the total weight is amount to 67 cruise liners. The cruise, right? The ships that bring you go to Phuket and all that. So as big as that, as massive as that. So you can imagine the amount of plastics that we are producing, yeah? So what I'm trying to try to show here is basically what I observed for my student. That I found that my very hardworking PhD student, I'm not sure he's here today, he generates up to like 10 kilograms of this type of waste within a span of 2 weeks. Now, so I can imagine the number of students that we have. So like he is so hardworking, he's going to produce 240 kilograms of plastic a year. Can you imagine the number of students that we have in the school as well as USM, as well as in Malaysia, right? So if you look at what I'm showing you here in this video, right, there are a lot of plastics that actually can be recycled, yeah? A lot of them, like, the plastic packaging materials, they all can be recycled, yeah? So in general, we generate too much single-use plastic waste from our laboratories. Now, the usual way we do it is basically, tutup mata lah, close our eyes, dump everything into the yellow bag. Am I right? Okay. And then we wait. After we dump, we tidy it, we wait. We wait for the waste management company where USM have to pay them to come to bring this waste to the incinerator, hopefully, and get them incinerated. And what happened to the incinerated waste? Eventually, it will be dumped to the landfill. Where else do they go, right? So, and then the thing is, there are already studies saying that this incinerated waste also leached out microplastics and toxins to the environment, to the soil, to the ocean, right? And the thing is, of course, there are also some illegal dumping going on. We wouldn't know unless we as the customer go and audit this company. So nobody audited them so far, so we don't know. And this is just to show you that illegal dumping of medical waste is very, very common. All right. So what we did, so we actually disrupt the process. We call ourselves the disruptors. Okay. So before we actually put everything into the yellow bag, what we did is we actually sort it out. We try to remove those plastics that are non-hazardous, non-chemical, non-pathogenic, non-infectious. We removed it. Okay. And then we decontaminate it according to our established SOPs and best practices. And you may ask me, oh, wait, Dr. Tan, where do you get all these SOP and those best practices from? Is it from the sky? No, of course. We actually, before we develop all these SOPs and best practices, we actually talk to the local recyclers, one. Second is we actually follow a lot of this best practices from established universities, already have their system in place. One notable one is UCL. All right, University of Edinburgh, and some more, a lot more, right? So what we did is, instead of waiting for the waste management company, we wait for the local recyclers to come and collect them. So we hope that, these local recyclers will then manufacture this plastics material into pellets, which can then remanufactured into other products, all right? Now, there are a lot of laboratory plastics which can be recycled, right? Now, so what we are advocating is basically, we are advocating that non-hazardous, non-chemical, and non-infectious laboratory plastics can be recycled, because we also don't want to be in trouble, with the authorities. Yeah. So how do we do it? Now, simple as just segregating these plastics into soft and hard. So you may ask, why soft, why hard? So this is actually required by the local recyclers because it's easy for them to segregate later. Yeah. And it's also, and when we draft the SOP, right, it has to be very, very simple. It cannot be so complicated that students cannot follow because they are already like too engrossed in their research activities. You want them to do all this complicated sorting and all that. They will then say bye-bye to you. So we have to make it as simple as possible. I'll explain afterwards. Now, yeah, these are the categories of laboratory plastics that can be segregated easily. Now, plastics are basically categorized based on the material used to make them. Okay. Now, if you have plastic made from PET, that is a polyethylene, okay, they are usually number 1. The recent identification code is number 1. If you can see here, if they are made from high density polyethylene, the recent identification code is number 2. And if they are made from low density polyethylene, they are number 4. Okay. And if they are made from polypropylene, they are number 5. So plastics categorized as 1, 2, 4, and 5 are basically soft plastics, according to my SOP. All right. So now, if they are made from polystyrene, they are labeled, they have this code as number 6, and others like polycarbonates and all that, they are number 7. So number 6 and 7 are basically this rigid, easily brittle plastics, and they are categorized as hard plastics. So how do you know, these laboratory plastics, whether they can be recycled or not? Just look into the bottom of the bottle. Okay, there's a triangle. In this case, here is number 2. So, well, it's basically soft plastics, as easy as that. All right, there's always reason why certain bottles have this triangle sign. It means that it is recyclable, so you don't throw it in the biohazard bag. All right. So this is just to show you just one of our SOPs. Yeah. So whether it's soft plastics or hard plastics, right? So you will have those solutions and medium and whatnot inside this laboratory waste, yeah, laboratory plastics. So what you can do is you have to treat this solution or waste according to your existing SOP. We do not want to go over there. All right. We don't want to talk about how you actually do all this thing. Okay, you have to remove according to your standard SOP in your lab. So once they are empty, you can actually decontaminate them by soaking them in Decon 90 for 24 hours. All right. Now, 24 hours is because it's for the convenience of our students. They do after a day's work at 5, they soak the next day. After they finish the laboratory work, they can actually do the washing. All right. Some universities practice 16 hours, some university 18 hours. So it depends. Yeah. And then once the next day when they come, they will just segregate to soft, hard plastics. Well, so whatever plastics after wash and all that, it has to be dry and clean. So because we also want to take care of the health of our local recyclers. And then you will ask, why you use Decon 90? Well, Decon 90 have been used like, 20 over years. So it's just coincidentally, it's there, right? And we use it. So I'm not a sales rep for Decon 90. Now, Decon 90 is basically a potassium hydroxide-based disinfectant. It is used quite widely. It's a bactericidal. It is also used as a radioactive decontaminant. All right, you can use in a solution like from 2 to 10%, so it's up to you. Yeah, and most importantly, it comes with a biodegradable certificate, meaning to say that this disinfectant is biodegradable. Okay. So yeah, this is some of them that I want to show. And the important ones is that when you buy a lot of this laboratory plastics, right, it comes in packaging, small packagings, big and all that, like this one. So don't throw it away, don't throw in the general waste bin. Just keep it aside because all these plastics, right, they are usually made from PP, so they are recyclable. Okay. And then a lot of plastic bottles, like from cell culture medium, additive and all that, these are actually clean. You don't even have to soak. Yeah, just rinse with running water, tap dry and tighten cap, and then voila, you sort it out. Then you get sent for recycling. Yeah. Now this is in IPPT where we started. We were so fortunate because we have our management, our cluster, oncology cluster head, who are so supportive of what we want to do, and also our Pengara. So well, they will be very supportive, provided there's no money involved. All right. So they allocated a small space for us in the washing area where we can do our decontamination as well as our segregation. If you look into this picture, right, we don't even have dedicated bins. We just start out with boxes. But if you look at it properly, it is very neat, properly labeled. We even have the SOP, put nicely on the wall for people to refer to and all that. And this is basically the pail where we soak our materials, right? And then we even have like a halfway room, the thing is when we want to wait for the local recyclers to come and collect, they won't come if you have just one bag. So you have to have a place where you keep probably amount to like probably half a lorry or more, and then you call them, they will come and collect. Because they usually, when they collect, they will come with a lorry. Don't tell me they just come and just want to pick one bag from you. So you must have a halfway room like this. It's basically under lock and key. Again, this is in IPPT. So I really want to commend IPPT for being so forward thinking, in supporting our initiative. Okay, now recycling is basically the last option. The most important thing is how to stop using, or how to at least to reduce use of single-use laboratory plastics. A lot of these laboratory plastics like pipette tips, centrifuge tubes, and plastic syringes and all that, they can be re-autoclaved and reused again. So what you can do is usually wash, rinse, decontaminate, of course, and then dry in the oven, and then put it in the autoclavable bag, and then put it into the autoclave. And then you can reuse it again. Right? And then culture flasks. Okay, usually these culture flasks are basically used for one time. Yeah, they are single use. So every time when you culture new flasks, new cells, or new culture, you will tend to use new flasks, and then you want to throw away the old flasks. But the old flasks can be reused again and again. All right. I know some of you will be saying, "Oh no, Dr. Dan, they'll be like, I'll get contamination and all that." Oh, come on. Contamination is basically due to your aseptic technique. It's rarely the fault of the what you call the flask. All right. So you can use several times, unless and when your cells don't attach on it, then you can probably move on. Yeah. So if not, you can actually reuse it over and over again. And just like another thing that I want to highlight is when you order a lot of those reagents, consumables and all that, they come in plastic bags. These plastic bags are soft plastic bags, so they can be recycled. So don't throw inside the general waste bin. Yeah. Okay, and then if you do a lot of enzymatic work, or you do a lot of RT-PCR, and you buy a lot of these enzymes and whatnot and all that, so the vendors will have to put all this in cold chain, right? Because they have to be supplied in cold chain and maintained in minus 20 and all that. So it comes with ice pack and all that. So one day you notice that you have lots of these styrofoam boxes. Now these styrofoam boxes are, maybe Dr. Chiket can talk about how they recycle it later. But if you have it, right, you can actually put it in your ice to do, what you call that, to organize your stuff. You can put this into your ice box in your fridge. Otherwise, you can always talk to your vendors, ask them, okay, I have like 10 of your styrofoam balls. Can you come and collect? Usually they will come. I have that experience. I actually talked to one of the company who sent me a lot of this, and they said that, okay, Dr. Tan, you just need to keep it nicely, make sure it's clean. So when I make a trip to Penang, I will collect it in my car. So that is what you can do. You talk to your vendors. Yeah. Filler beads and all that, just don't leave it to the lady, the makcik, who clean the rubbish and all that. So you will never know where is this going to. Most probably it's going to the landfill. So might as well just keep it and then return it back to the vendor. So I think that's all from me. So it's time to do something, yeah, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tan. This is really interesting, and I am quite sure we can learn from here. But so I recap a little bit. So because I want to learn, and I am sure the student need to know, the label for 1, 2, 4, and 5 for soft plastic, 6, 7 for hard plastic. If you can segregate both in this way, but
actually.
Yeah.
No, actually, Dr. Chan, they don't have to follow the way I do, because I actually adopt my SOPs and best practices from several guides from other universities, notably from UCL. Yeah. So if a person wants to establish their own SOP, definitely. They don't even have to segregate into hard and soft. We segregate hard to soft is because upon the requirement of our local recycler. If they are from Kubang Korean, if their local recycler insists that they do it that way, so they have to take into their suggestions, right? So you don't really have to put into hard and soft. We did it because requirements from our local recyclers.
Yeah, but definitely it's good to learn from what you have actually got the SOP, right? You got the SOP copyrighted.
Yeah.
Am I right? Yeah. So and
it's
also
for fun. Yeah. Even though it's copyrighted, we distribute to everybody.
thanks. That's very good. So and actually along the way there are some questions, but I think most of your slide has already tell whatever the content that this student once PM me asking about, the pipette tips, which you have mentioned just now. But I think this student was asking the pipette tip, is that possible for like washing and reuse? But pipette tip is a kind of like specific volume, right? If we are autoclaving, maybe the volume can run away. I mean, I don't know, maybe that can only be recycled.
Okay. Now, do you know that there's already a company called Renova, based in US? This company is actually very good at, their business is actually producing this high throughput system. So in 2015, they came out with this pipette tips washing equipment.
Okay.
Right? And that was in 2015. And since then until now, they have been helping a lot of researchers from the industry as well as the academia, helping researchers to reuse the tips again. All right. So I know some of you will be saying, okay, Dr. Tan, we are doing RNA, DNA work. How can we, risk of contamination and all that? Okay, guys, hear me out. People have already done research. Now, this group of scientists, researchers from National Institute of Health, US, so they were trying to compare, the results between using recycled autoclave tips versus new autoclave tips. So they found that the experimental results when they use recycled autoclave tips is exactly the same with the new freshly autoclave tips. And guess what they are doing? They were actually preparing small interfering RNA screening libraries. So they are doing RNA work, So yeah, it's possible, right?
Thanks for that. There's this one comment from the Facebook. Hopefully we did not give up with glass bottle reuse or recycle, although that economically currently it has some issue with recycling supplier for demand. It's also to avoid the perception that glass is not recyclable. Am I right, Dr. Ying? Relatively, glass
Yeah.
didn't cause that environmental issues than plastic waste. Maybe this is just a comment from the Facebook audience. Perhaps we should actually continue to how to reduce the single-use plastic in campus, Dr. Ying. Or if
Yes, yes. So I think okay. So before I proceed to answer how to reduce the single-use plastic in the campus, may I just have questions first? Do you think which place do you think we produce most single-use plastic in the campus other than the laboratory? May you just type a comment in Facebook or in the Zoom here? Just give your answer. Which place do you think produce or generate the most single-use plastic in our campus other than laboratory? So you will see your answer later. So I think before I proceed, right, here is the little bit out of topic, single-use plastic, but just I want to take the opportunity to share with all of you because some of you I think may be confused also about the double A and the triple A battery also, because sometimes when I check the e-waste recycling box, right, sometimes you see a lot of this type of the battery, right? Actually, this type of battery, right, we can safely just dump into our household garbage. You no need to recycle it, okay? And this type of the battery, right, actually is made by the alkali or jeans, okay? They are not toxic. We just can dump it directly to our normal garbage bin, okay? Because the problem is actually this type of like the battery, right, is we cannot say cannot recycle. Actually, it can recycle and reproduce, but the cost of the reproduce, right, is higher than the make the new one. So usually most of the country, right, they won't accept this type of the AA, so-called AA, AAA battery. We need to recycle our lithium battery only and other e-waste lah. So this is the battery. And then the other thing, I think Dr. Melan is also mentioned about the styrofoam, right? Actually, the styrofoam, right, most of the vendor, they will not accept the styrofoam, but what I can get the information from the Penang Green Council here, currently one company, right, one vendor, right, they can accept the styrofoam, but when I call to ask, right, they only accept in a huge amount only. Means that one full lorry lah, just an example. Otherwise, they cannot come to correct if our amount is little bit. But the problem is the styrofoam is very light, and then we need to find a place to keep the styrofoam. Usually, most of the recycling center or recycling corner cannot keep this type of the styrofoam, and then also cannot send to other places. So we cannot just usually we cannot do anything lah. Just dump into the landfill only. It's quite.
Hey, how can? How can cannot do anything? You can do.
Yes,
there
but
must
in
be a
USM,
will.
right,
then there's a way.
Yes, you need to find a big storeroom. Actually, currently, right.
Yeah.
We mentioned about you want to set the recycling corner, right, in USM, right. At the moment, right, we are looking the storeroom. Means that we put the recycling bin is very simple thing. You just put in library, you just put in every school, every PTJ, but who going to take care of the bin only? The problem is, as I know before that, USM used to have recycling bin also, but at the end, right, all of the bin, right, is no one to take care, and then full of rubbish, and then no one going to segregate it. This is the main issue. We need to have the in-charge people, and we need to find a storeroom, proper storeroom lah. If we could, we will collect the styrofoam also, and then send to this particular company. so they can accept the drawing form. Hopefully we can do more further compared to like our community. In USM, we can do a little bit more. So this is the Tetra Pak also. We cannot accept this inside USM. You know why? Because usually the Tetra Pak, right, inside after you drink it, right, inside really dirty. And then if you're going to recycle this, right, before you dump into the recycle bin, you need to wash it. But most of the general public usually they won't wash it because we need to have pipe, maybe seashore to cut it and then wash and then only can dump. But in USA, I think very difficult for us to accept this type of the Tetra Pak. But please keep in mind, this one you can keep it if you want, just keep it and then send to the any recycling center. They will accept the Tetra Pak. And then because Tetra Pak is made by the aluminiums, paper, cardboard, plastic, they can segregate the material and then can make the roofing, the drink pack. As you can see, this is the recycling company. They doing very good about the Tetra Pak. They can do a lot of things. Okay, now when you talk about the single-use plastic, like everyone of you know that the Penang started ban the single-use plastic from January. Okay, tak nak straw program, no plastic bag program, and then just started from this year. Okay, if you want to use the single-use plastic, right, from hypermarket, Tesco or whatever, you need to pay 1 ringgit. Okay, you know what? Because this is the thing of the human behavior and human habit. Okay, usually if you don't feel the pain, you will not follow. Okay, just 20 cents, right? Would you pay for a plastic bag? Usually most of the people, they say, okay, just 20 cents. So the government is increase the cost. If you want to use, just pay more. But when you need to pay more, like I think most of the public, like they don't want to pay, just single plastic bag for 1 ringgit. And then this is the USM, you know that back in 2008, okay, USM banned the storing form before Penang government banned the storing form. I think, and I remember Dr. Chan contributed a lot, okay, to approve USM and that time, okay, to initiate the activity. And then at that time, right, in every cafeteria in USM, right, they cannot use the storing form, and then they start to use the type of the kind of paper box. So this is very good initiative because humans habit, right? We need to something called the external force, okay, or policy to change the human behavior. Otherwise, we just cannot follow. Usually, most of the people are okay. If we do like if don't have the like external force to change the human habit, right? Usually, we are human being, right? We don't have such high discipline, okay, to do what we need to do. We need little bit some external force to push us. So this is we call the policy come in. Say no to this. I'm not sure, I cannot see the comment just now. What do you think? Which area in USM generate more single-use plastic?
I have not get any. You know, the audience is quite passive. I have not get any response for this. But to drag back your go back to the topic that you have said about the white coffin. It was an initiative by our previous VC Tan Sri Zul. While that time he was actually initiating this like no polystyrene in all the cafeteria. But what he did was a little bit more than what we can expect. He will willing to purchase all these, white coffin from the cafeteria in exchange to the paper box. So, yeah, that is the first step that he has done to actually encourage those cafeteria to embrace this paper box as for the exchange for this. And there is actually one question from our audience here, which is in line in what you have said just now. I just read the comment first, then come with the question. Hello to speakers. Thanks for the very insightful sharing. My family and I has been segregating since 2016 when the Penang state government introduced the waste segregation. And the law stated that people who fail to segregate will be penalized. I have a few of my friends who live in Penang but do not segregate their waste and they don't get penalized, right? I would like to ask your opinion. What do you think of the enforcement and implementation of the law by Penang state government, and is it sufficient? Yes, Dr. Ying, you said sometimes the external force is important, right? But is it
Yes.
sufficient enough to actually encourage people to segregate waste and address the management issue that is currently we are facing?
I cannot represent Penang government to give comment lah, but just my own opinion lah, my own opinions. Because when you do it in other than campus, right, it's very difficult because as I mentioned just now, human behavior, the human habit, like our mindset, very difficult to change. Usually, especially for a lot of people, like general public, they won't change their habit. But when you say the Penang government, as my own opinion, I think our government can do a little bit more, okay, for the means that enforcement, okay. You know that nowadays, like every condo, every apartments, like housing area, right, we need to segregate our rubbish, okay, to our Penang state government when the truck come to collect it. If the citizen is not segregate it, they have a law already. The law already there. The fine will be imposed to the family. But the problem is they really implement the fine or implement the law to the that household and that family. So this is the problems. But what I mean is that in USM, right, we can do a little bit more. I think we can ban the use of the plastic, single-use plastic. And then when you see the cafeteria in recent year, I think maybe since this few years, I noticed that they use this type of the container. Actually, if they using, if the cafeteria, if our cafeteria use this container, right, it's still plastic. And then when we put the food, our food is already very dirty. Like after we eat, we cannot recycle it. It's no different with polyform. Still, the plastic at the end, right, will go into our landfills. So still cannot decompose for many years. So please, we need to do something like in USM. I think we are working on it lah. We have a group to see what can we do to ban the use of the single-use plastic in cafeteria, because I think we use most of the single-use plastic, right, in cafeteria. So please bring your like the own food. This is my typical food container lah. So I usually will use my own food container. So for my lunch, okay, in my office lah, especially in the COVID period, I always have lunch in my office. So I will bring my own container to tapao, to take away. So I will use my own container, but at least, but sometimes, as I mentioned, we cannot change the human behavior suddenly. Okay, sometimes we still need to use the single-use container, but we can have a better option. I think we can use the more environment friendly compared to the plastic. We can use the paper lunch box compared to the plastic, so we still can use. If you want, sometimes you not always carry our own box, our own food container to the class, to the everywhere. Sometimes we not carry, but at least when you need it, we can use the paper box instead of the single-use plastic container. So this is a better option we can use. And then the plastic bag also. Now, please, we can use our own plastic bag when we go to buy something. So we can reuse this. So this is the plastic bag, the cost RM1 in Penang. So I think after our government imposed RM1, I think most of you, including me, right? Because, okay, I just want to share my experience. Sometimes, like me, myself, right? Okay, I always use my own bag when I go to the supermarket to purchase something, right? But sometimes I forget to bring, okay? Or I not bring, but I'm willing to pay 20 cents for a single plastic bag. and I can reuse the plastic bag, okay, to become the garbage bag, okay, 20 cents. Most of the people, they think, okay, just 20 cents. But how about you increase to 1 ringgit? Like if government increase to 1 ringgit, for me also, I also think it's quite, it's very expensive for me, just a single plastic bag. So definitely, I won't purchase, okay, 1 ringgit just for a single plastic bag. So this is the something you can do a little bit more, especially in you are a student, right? I think a lot of students here, we can do a little bit more. When you go to the cafeteria, you can choose bring your own container. Okay. Otherwise, usually the food container, they already use plastic, and then the hawker will give you another external plastic, soft plastic bag. Okay, to put your food container. How many plastic bag you use every single day? If you imagine the whole, how many students in USM? Few thousands. Okay, if every single student, right, you use only one per day. So how many single use plastic we produce? So you need to think. Yes.
One of the audience from Facebook say, in response to your question, what do you think, where do you think in campus generate most waste of plastic? The audience says canteen.
Yes, definitely correct. Definitely correct.
Luckily,
So,
I have.
Yeah.
And actually, I missed one of the question when I scroll back to some of the comment in Facebook. There's this one student called Tan. She asked, beside the Decon 19, so her what do you call, her question actually direct to Dr. Tan. Any other chemical actually can we use to soak the plastic laboratory waste beside the Decon 19? 90, sorry.
Oh dear, that's a very, very difficult question. I've been using Decon 90 like since like ages, 20 over years. I suppose you can find any other disinfectant which is like as long as they are biodegradable, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not a sales rep for Decon 90, but it's just happened that I've been using it like for years.
Yeah, but if 19 a sales rep is sitting in our what do you call, our seminar today, maybe they will contact you and ask you to be their
I think any potassium hydroxide based disinfectant.
I see. So
phosphate free,
but then, yeah, because you have adopt from a different university and see how they go with it. Like after it proved to be not in what do you call, not affecting the result, then we are good to go, right? But I guess there is always a doubt, like how I think especially the researcher, they will have doubt like how clean is that, especially to those who are doing cell culture works or very sensitive works. So
actually, recycling of pipette tips is not new. Even they don't have the pipette tips washer. So I think some laboratories are actually doing that.
Yeah. I noticed some is actually doing that. And so far they are doing well. I mean, the reputation of the lab is very, right. Yeah. Sometimes we don't know whether some things that we do is not on paper. That's why we are not sure. Right.
And then the other thing is there's a misconception, So when one lab is recycling the pipette tips, there will be some rumors at the back among the students saying that, hey, the supervisor must be very kiam siap, don't want to buy tips for them. But actually it's not, I think it's really a good way. It's not that the supervisors are kiam siap,
Yeah. they are concerning about recycling. I even water waste, the distillation, when we distill our water, there's another pipe that this water is go to drain. Okay. And water, my lab is collecting the water, and then sometimes we ask the auntie, do you need to use for mopping the floor and things like that? And actually I think my student find it very tedious. Why do you need to have this? One day we need 10 liters of distilled water, and how much we generate this wastewater, At one point, I don't have enough you go Tesco and buy the black tong to actually collect this wastewater. At one point of time, I don't have enough tong to actually collect the water anymore. Then I say,
Hey, why
okay,
don't you use this water to wash toilet and all that?
yeah, but it's very hard. I think we need to have what you call secondary pipe. I read about this.
Ah,
If we want to channel this wastewater, we have to got like secondary pipe, and then the toilet is have to be ensuite with our research lab so that it can be go very nicely. But because we don't have this centralized facility in USM, right? But I think it's way forward. At least we are now aware, right? Okay, back to Dr. Ying. It's not my talk. So back to Dr. Ying. So CGSS, right? We know they have a plan to improve the awareness of environment protection. Maybe you can explain a little bit about the project that we have, or even actually we are going to encourage our students to enroll to your micro credential course with Dr. Tan, so that they can learn more about it.
Yeah, yes. Sorry. Hey, I am sharing my screen right now, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
saw your email.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so it's okay. Yeah. Regarding the micro credential course, like Dr. Tan, I think Dr. Ng already shared the link in the comment. So if any student, please feel free to click the link for the micro credential course. If you want to share, it's for free now. So just take the course. Just won't take you much time. Only about 1 hour, I think, for the whole course. Okay, you will get the certificate later. So when talk about what you can do right in our campus, right, to make USM more green, we say green campus. Actually, in the conjunction with the sustainability month, we already initiated a lot of the activity, right, to promote and then to increase awareness among the USM Waga. So like what we can do right here, okay, sometimes you say you want to encourage students, right, to practice recycling. Some of the student feedback, right, I even cannot see a single recycle bin in the campus. How do we practice the recycle? We noticed this problem, and then we are going to set up again the recycling corner in the campus. Okay, our first location will be in our main lobby, in our foyer, in the library. So we are going to set up the recycling corner, and then we are also going to establish we call the environment protection education hub, and then the name to be finalized. So it's is the behind the Padang Kawat here is a very big land behind the Padang Kawat. Okay, we won't call it recycle area or recycle center, because public always have the wrong perceptions about the recycle center. When they talk about the recycle center, they may think that, oh, recycle, we always correct rubbish, very dirty. So we are going to change the public protective. This is the Environment Protection Education Center or Education Hub. Okay, this is totally different concept. We will make it very beautiful, beautify it very clean, and then everyone can come here to practice recycle, to learn recycle, and then you can do the plantation also or exercise. So we are still in the planning. We are going to establish very soon. So this is the example of the recycling corner. So, and then I think the enforcement also very important. As I mentioned just now, our human habit lah. So we need to come up with some policy. We try to work. We will see. We can come up with some policy to ban the use of single-use plastic, especially in cafeteria. So, and then also encouragements. But this one haven't finalized. We still in the discussion stage. Maybe the incentive will be given to the students if you're willing to recycle your item, if you become our volunteer, okay, to help us, okay. And then the last but not least is the most important still, we need educations, because when you talk everything, education, increase the awareness, still the most important factor to make to make the whole sustainability program success, and then we can make USM more greener. So other than this activity, right? We still have a lot of the activity other than recycle. Actually, I think USM now still because from different group we have the bike project also. I think the bike project to encourage students to use more bicycle in the campus, and then maybe plan the solar panel, okay, to we can correct the energy, right? And then we can save our electric bill also, and then reduce the electricity. Okay, a lot of measurement we can do. So, but at the end, right, we still need students' support. Okay, actually, only students here is the major factor for the whole program success. Okay, it's not by actually it's not by university, it's not by the CGSS or our group member, because you are the most important people to make the program success. Okay, like to practice the recycling, to provide the educations, okay, to help the university to promote awareness, okay, and organize the activity, and then maybe some gotong royong activity also, and then you even can come up your idea, and then you can give your idea to us. So if your idea can work, so we are going to support you. So actually at the end, students still play the pivotal roles to make the whole program success and then make USM more greener. I think you have a link here, right? We are going to recruit the students volunteer, and then please just fill in the form if you're willing to join us, and then help us, okay, to make the USM more greener. Yes. Is there any questions we can discuss, or if you have any suggestions?
Yeah, any question from the floor? Before waiting for question, there's one question to Dr. Tan. What is the recommended plastic waste that is not autoclave? That is from one student PM me about this question. I think again I missed it before I pass it to Dr. Yin.
Which autoclave? Sorry.
Is there any recommended plastic grade? I think grade. Sorry, not waste. That is not recommended for autoclave.
This one I'm not so sure. Maybe Ticket can ask. Ticket can answer.
So sorry, what's your question again?
The question is because we are thinking of recycle some of this laboratory plastic, and one of the way is to autoclave to clean them. Is there any, because we know, you know, when we go for plastic, sometimes when they are under heat, they will be you know, softened. Is there any grade that we can identify it is not suitable to be autoclave? Any type that is too technical, right?
Yes, I think I can't answer right now, but anyway, you can post your question to us. We can discuss later or invite the vendor directly. Yeah. You can ask the vendor directly, because last time, right, we also invited the vendor came to our lab to check directly the items. So okay, you can just post later, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Based on what we experienced, right? Because again, when the vendors supply all these centrifuge tubes and all that, right, it will not say that it's autoclavable. Yeah, because it's supposed to be single use. So we actually do along the years, you know, we try to see whether it's autoclavable or not. So that's why we end up, you know, autoclaving our centrifuge tubes, pipette tips, and all that. So yeah, all these plastics are supposed to be single use. It's marketed as single use.
Correct, correct. That's why,
so
you know,
just based on trial and error.
Yeah, correct. Because some of our, you know, this lunchbox, they say microwavable. That's why I think the student have this idea in mind. There's one comment from Facebook audience, antara usaha campaign tingkatkan kesedaran rakyat diulang nasihat. I think it's just a comment. And one student, Sulin, would like to know more about USM Green Ambassador. I think more about this is like perhaps what what are they going to do? Are they compulsory to be enrolled and micro credential course? Is there any like eligibility that they need to take into consideration, or even commitment?
Yes. The like the USM, the Green Ambassador is just you become a volunteer, right? And then you can choose which type of the activity you prefer. And then when I say the commitment, right, I think some students may be afraid the commitment. So you can choose the activity you like, but you really need some students really can commit little bit to support us. If you don't have little bit commitment, actually we really cannot push the whole program. We need just little bit, maybe semester by semester only. You can have your own slot lah. Whenever you feel you comfortable, your time is okay, you just help us. Let's say we need the volunteer to help us to take care of the recycle bin. And then the bin is full, right? You just help us to carry the recyclable items to the store only. Because usually the vendor, they cannot come. Only if the amount is too little, right? The vendor, they're not possible to come. So you need to keep it into the store. Yes, if you're interested in organizing activity, more about the leadership, so you can just like help us to do together some activity to students. Yeah, we can do it together. Yes.
This is more like, I just want to add, this is more like volunteerism lah.
Yes.
Yeah. If you think that you want to be an agent of change, you want to do something for the environment, you want to promote green campus, then join us. Of course, upon joining us, I think you will be like given some MSD, right? What is that? My CSD point. Yeah, as well as certificate from CGSS.
Yes, we will provide you the official certificate from the USM. And I think if you guys join the previous lessons, the benefit to become the volunteer, our previous speaker, Dr. Koing, and he already explained the benefit. Actually, you can gain a lot of things. Not only you help us, you can reduce your stress. I know that some students, sometimes you feel stressed, right? When you come out to do some activity or exercise, okay, or by recycling, you can reduce your stress, increase your leadership skill, communication skill, and then at the end, right, you have to step up from the university, right? Because in the USM, you're not going to only generate the student when you step up from the USM, when you graduate later, only with your degree or with your knowledge only. We hope that USM also can produce the students have the sense of the connection to our Mother Earth, okay? We have the sense of the connection to nature, because I know that we know that every one of us, right, you love our nature, we love our environment, but what we can do is I cannot wait. Hey, I wait you to do you do something lah. I cannot. I know times to do, but at the end everyone just wait other to do it. So who going to do is you, is me. So actually, as we are the lecturer, right, we are very busy with our daily tasks already, right? And we need to teaching research, especially teaching research supervision students. But we are still willing to do a little bit more for our environment. I think students also, we also need your support. Just do a little bit more other than your study. At the end, you will find that actually what you learn or what you gain is far more than what you can give. So please join us. Yes, please. We will start to like send up the form to student later. So please just fill the form and then join us. You explain. Don't worry about what you can do, what you cannot do. We will guide you. We have the leader. We will guide you. We will provide you, or even trainings or whatever. We will guide you. Little bit. Yes.
I think it is worth for the audience, or I'm not sure whether the audience today will be majority of students. It is worth to let you know that in 2009, around 2008, 2009, when USM already have the recycle bin, and then why things did not go on is because of implementation and the
Yes.
involvement from the university, the USM resident. And this project has been again start from there, and we are looking at in change of the implementations. Hopefully this round we can take things off and the whole university can actually move on with a very green kind of campus, right?
Yes.
So please join us as a agent of change, proposed by Dr. Tan, the name of Green Ambassadors. So
Yes.
now, before we end, is there any more question or anyone want to unmute your mic in the room that you like to speak directly to our speaker before we end?
Yes, please. You just can give your comment here. We can like our discussions, conversations.
Okay, one from the Facebook says, is this for main campus only?
Actually, it's no. As I know, the whole program initiative is not only for main campus. We have our member in the engineering campus also, in engineering campus. And also, I think from Kelantan HUSM, PPSK, PPST also going have the initiative also. It's not only main campus and IPPT. It's
I
the
think
whole USM.
we already have some dialogues with the HUSM Kelantan and as well as the engineering campus. Of course, IPPT from you, right? So,
Yes. So if you are from Kelantan or from engineering, just fill the form first. So we will, I think we will contact you. So based on your location, I think later.
yeah, and this again. I don't know why they like Facebook better. So Lo Chin Ling, he said, I think general environment awareness may be helpful in orientation of student, like new student come in, and we what do you call, embed in the program of orientation of student.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
Yes.
So okay,
CGSS need to pick this
yeah,
up.
take note. Okay, so before we end, maybe we have a take-home message from each of our speaker. We start with Dr. Tan, maybe.
Me.
Yeah.
Actually, I also have a lot things to say, So, okay, anyway, I'm basically looking at just single-use laboratory plastics, for general plastics and all that. You can actually refer to Dr. Chi Kiat. Now, the thing is, a lot of overseas universities, they are already moving very rapidly, in the context of this single-use laboratory plastics. For example, UCL, University College London, they already have this. They created the laboratory efficiency assessment framework as well as the sustainable laboratory consumable guide, which I refer to, which actually showcase a lot of those strategies that research laboratories can implement, in order to be more sustainable. And of course, I agree that some sustainable what do you call that, training has to be provided. And this sustainable training has to be really tailored to the type of research you guys doing, the location and the nature of the work that you're doing. So of course, one size doesn't fit all. So those, for a start, right, those who are interested to join us, you can always join the waste reduction and recycling course at the Open Learning System. So where we actually teach you how to segregate and recycle. If you want the SOPs, we can also provide. So I think the important thing is, right, especially for students, if you want to do it, just do it. If your supervisor is not keen, educate your supervisor. You know, the thing is, all those success stories in overseas actually carried out by postgraduate students. They don't wait for professors to do it because they won't have time to do it. So the agent of change should be students. All right, that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tan. Very inspiring. Student. Luckily, I'm supervisor will initiate. Right. So, Dr.
Yes. Just I would like to say thanks to all of you because all of you willing to spend your maybe 1.5 hours to join us to gain a little bit more about the concern to our environment. It means that you are the persons really concerned about our environments. If not, you will not spend 1.5 hours with us.
Yeah.
So
for the
true.
talk, right? Yes. So
Yeah.
I hope you, if you want to do a little bit more, just don't hesitate. Just fill the form first. If you cannot do, if you have any questions, you don't know what to do, is okay. We will guide you later. We can do together. We can do a little bit more. We can change our campus. We can change our community. Okay, little bit by
Yes.
little bit. We need to be a role model first. Before we can educate the publics.
Yeah.
So thanks again. Thank you.
Love to y'all.
Yeah, thanks again, Associate Professor Tan and also Dr. Ying. Thank you very
It's a
much.
great morning. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Remember,
Thank you, everybody.
yeah, remember when we change, the culture will follow. Hope we are the
Yes.
first one who can initiate this to push the whole things forward. Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah,
everyone.
one last thing. One last thing. Don't wait for the government to do it. Do it
Yeah,
now.
no wait for them. Do it, right?
Yeah.
So we say bye
Thank
to the
you.
Facebook audience first. Bye
Yeah.
to the Facebook audience.
Bye.
Thank you.